Okay, good evening. We're coming from you from Brilliant Institute, and we have our director, Stephen Costales, and my sister, Jacquie Walburn. And we're coming to you from La Habra, California. We would like to introduce two individuals that have many distinctions, and they're going to be talking about those distinctions. They're both authors and have many life stories and lots of wisdom to convey. And I just wanted to express something that I heard from Martin Luther King, basically, that life is urgent, life is persistent, and the question is, what are we going to do for somebody else? So these two individuals basically have gone their own separate path, and their lives have crossed over, and they've actually come together, and they've actually helped one another. And I want to kind of get this on a documentary as far as how they've actually helped one another. So we're going to be discussing Stephen Costales, and he's written a book, Wake Up the Inner Balance Inside Yourself. And Jacquie, she has written a book, basically Here by Itself Naturally. And the two of them have collaborated and actually have changed each other's lives. And I want to kind of capture that in a question and answers and reflectivity of how this whole thing came about. So this is kind of impromptu, just easygoing. So at that point, I want to introduce Stephen Costales and his book, and the director of Brilliant Institute here in La Habra, California. I'd like him to talk a little bit about who he is and what his passions actually are. And then we'll ask Jacquie the same question as far as who she is and what her passions actually are and some of her history. And Stephen, if you'll take the next 5 or 10 minutes to do that, and Jacquie, you take 5 or 10 minutes to actually explain that. And then once we do that, I would really like to see what happens as far as when you guys want to help each other and actually how you actually developed a relationship and interpersonality relationship as far as how this whole thing came about, and express basically how it's actually inspired you both basically into the field of well-being, and how it actually transformed your lives to be very present individuals. So again, Stephen Costales, and like I said, he's written a book.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Yep. Well, I think maybe a lot of people would take a look at it, what was going on when they were younger. A lot of that makes an impression, and when I was younger, I got obsessed with trying to figure out what makes people tick at the age of 8. And I think if we go back and look at that, I have a friend that was obsessed with transistor radios, and he became a technocrat. So I was very obsessed with that. And it went on all through high school and through college. And, I could talk about it for a long time. But I discovered that there was this thing called transformation, and I didn't like the word. I didn't know what it meant. Then they started talking about being. But until I had an experience of it, and that was sort of having a quiet mind, I thought, this is extraordinary. And I had a pretty loud mind, and a loud mind is unhealthy, and it really doesn't allow you to make a lot of great choices. So my journey has been about having a quiet mind, being less reactive, and it is amazing what you can create when you have a quiet mind. And you have the ability to choose. You really can't choose much with a loud mind. People say, well, what is a loud mind? What is that? That's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, it's all that chatter in the back of your head, am I wearing the right clothes? Am I having the right thought? It has to do with an identity. And I've got my own individual thing over here. And so when you have a quiet mind, you sort of lose all of that. In my case, I had to lose a lot of things to sort of be here and be present. So there's a difference between living in the past, living in the present, and having an extraordinary future. So it's really about really being present. And it is a state that I think makes people happy. Love occurs only in the present. Can't occur in the past. Peace of mind only occurs in the present. Self-expression only occurs in the present. So most people live in the past. And so that's what got me started as a kid, and I could go on and on, but I think that sort of begins the introduction here a little bit of what my inquiry has been, and it has been a 60-year inquiry, an extensive, vast inquiry, what it is to have a quiet mind, what is it to, at the level of choice, whatever that word means, we can discuss that. What is it to transform your life? And so maybe that just gives a little idea. I hope that answers your question there a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It's a beautiful intro.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jacquie, you want to tell us who you are and where you came from and what you're doing and what has inspired you up to this point?
Well, and before today, I was thinking that I was labeling myself as a condition-specific nutrition and lifestyle coach, also known as the Leaky Gut Girl. But now I'm starting to think that maybe I need to get away from my labels and actually come up with something that is more friendly and more open to the public. And so kind of playing around with what kind of a title we might give myself. But I think I was looking at, was it gut critter coach or whatever? Anyway, so some fun stuff. But anyway, this started a very long time ago for me as far as getting into where I am now. And I can go back to when I was 12 years old and that I was diagnosed with arthritis in my feet. And I had asthma and allergies, and basically all Western medicine had to offer me was surgery or pain the rest of my life with pain medications, and all sorts of other medications for my conditions. And I said basically, no, I don't want to do surgery. I mean, at 12 years old, I said, that's not what I want to do. And so my grandmother said, let's find another path. And so she found alternative medicine things that actually took me down a different path. It showed me different things are possible and were not limited to the box of Western medicine. And that continued through my life. In college, I decided I wanted to be a nutritionist because I wanted to be a sports medicine nutritionist because I wanted to try to improve my own athletic performance using food. And so that's where that came from, is I wanted to get that edge over everybody else, and I wanted to have that one more thing that they didn't have. So I actually turned my degree towards that direction. And it's been a fascination of mine through a very long period of time because I started changing my diet back then. But the problem now is that what they taught me is wrong. And so I'm having to get out of the box they put me in and rethink and reimagine and reevaluate everything I ever learned, and found out that there is more to it. There's alternative pathways and everything else that can go on using nutrition and using natural remedies and using botanicals from earth to be able to correct body balances and make you healthy. And was able to, at this point, reverse all sorts of conditions for myself. When I finally took this avenue, I had not only the arthritis, the asthma, the allergies, but also had obesity, diabetes, eczema, and on the verge of stage 4 kidney disease. And by changing my diet and changing my relationship with food, I got rid of all of it. And it's all gone. And I rebuilt my knees, rebuilt my back, cleared up all the things, and I'm like in the best health I've ever been. And Western medicine said it wasn't possible. They said I was a miracle. And it's like, I don't think so. I think everybody can do this.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. And she's written a book, basically, Heal Thyself. And it's a field guide to nutrition. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And again, let's go back. And so you two actually met about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something of that nature?
Oh, I would love to tell everybody how we met.
I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Brad here told me about the wonderful work he was doing with Stephen, and said that he suggested that I see Stephen, and I thought to myself, I need anger management. Because I was anxious, I was angry, I was depressed, I was irritable, and being a classroom teacher, that is the worst thing you can be. And I knew that I needed to do something because it was getting worse and worse, and I was losing control of being able to keep my emotions in check in the classroom. So I came to Stephen to get help. And boy, did I bite off a big piece of the pie with that. Because Stephen then turned around, not only did we deal with the things I was dealing with, but then also made me realize and made me aware that I really wasn't happy in what I was doing anyway. And that I really had a hope and a dream to go back to my nutrition roots, and helped me redo my whole life purpose, redo my destiny, to have the courage to walk away from a good job and actually become what I always wanted to be to begin with, and that I had lost sight of down the road. So it was very, very important.
So you would say basically you're basically a well-being coach that you basically became from Stephen's help.
Absolutely. I blame it all on him.
And you're doing it through nutrition. And you're doing it through unlearning, basically everything you had learned the past, like 25 years ago when you were in college, and you
Yes.
reinvented yourself
Yes.
with a new ideology and also new information. Staying very contemporary, very present on what's actually happening in the field of nutrition.
Wow, you're describing me better than me.
So why they pay me the big bucks?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Stephen, could you describe for us how when you met Jackie, what kind of a state of mind was she? Pretty accurate of who and what you perceived?
I think so, but of course, that is an identity. There's a difference between identity and a self. And we take on these identities which are not real. And, you know, what is an identity in self? Nobody even knows what that is. But there's a place where I am this particular thing that I'm looking down in a tunnel. And I keep looking down that tunnel, and I keep looking down that tunnel. Now, if we blow up that tunnel or unlearn, as you just spoke, we let all that go. And then there was a world out there that was always there anyway, but I couldn't see it. So she was already brilliant. That's why the title of my book is Wake Up the Brilliance Inside You. It doesn't come from me. But you can't find your brilliance if you're looking down an identity tunnel, and it actually will make you sick. And most people will die from it. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's usually the case. And when you unlearn that and you let go of that identity, you become more of a universal awareness. It's really rather profound. So she already had everything she needed. So that it was a matter of letting go. It was a matter of unlearning. And of course, at the same time, here I am as I call her a nutritional coach, outside of the box, because there's nutritional coaches and then there's nutritional coaches. But she's looking in a complete different place, as she's just described her history. And I have a pretty good history of nutrition. Well, why am I 25 pounds overweight if you have your nutrition together? Why do you think you might, getting a little closer to being a diabetic? Why would you have high blood pressure? If you're eating such great nutritional foods, it doesn't make sense. And I was, because I'm really not eating junk foods. But she brought a lot more distinctions to that. And one of the most profound things she said to me, which hit me right between the eyes, is, okay, you're not eating junk foods, but you are eating healthy junk foods. Now, what the world was that? And she explained to me about brown rice, which, of course, to me is wonderful. No. She said it's going to go to your liver and turn to sugar. So when I am eating brown rice, I'm eating sugar. I don't know this. Bread. She was talking about somebody that had a wheat belly. I don't know what a wheat belly is. But a lot of our problems, and I didn't know this, was wheat. I eat brown bread. That's good. It's not. One of the favorite things I wanted, and she woke me up about this, is I had yogurt, sugar-free and fat-free. Now, how can you have a better food than that?
You mean frozen yogurt or regular yogurt?
Frozen, just frozen.
Yogurt.
I don't know how you're going to have a better food. I have got no sugar in it and no fat in it, and it's garbage. So I'm eating very good foods. I know they're good foods. Not until we sat down here. And so I went on this, killing off the bread, the rice, the yogurt, and dropped 15 pounds. So when we talk about, perspectives and distinctions, I had to unlearn what I thought was this great thing, which was killing me. A lot of times we're attached to things. I really like this. Well, is your life working? No. Well, maybe you ought to let go of what you think is good. So I had to let go of good stuff. But I couldn't do that if I didn't have a distinction. We went on a little trip to the store, which was quite amazing. And as Jackie went around, she knows everything in the store. I don't like to shop. I want to be in the store maybe 5 minutes and get out. But as she began to show a lot of distinctions, and the word that I think is the most important word in the dictionary's choice, could I choose something that would lead to my well-being? And I was doing that before and 25 pounds overweight. So a lot of times we're choosing things that we're in love with that are totally disempowering. So this is how she has empowered me. And of course, I'm much more healthy. I lost 15, 20 pounds. It's great. High blood pressure is fine. I'm not having all that stuff. So I have been really empowered by her, and it's great. And I've been weighing. It's about 15 years, that I've had that weight on, lost it. So very empowering. So that's, interesting how we're able to empower one another. She's a nutritionist. She knows everything about it. She's been studying it all her life. She's written the book back here. I mean, she's got everything in her. Where is that book? She's got everything in this book right here. In this book. Now, I see this book here, and I'm going to bring this book right out. Because why? Well, because here it is. You've got an illness. Let's take a look at this book. Let me see if I've got my glasses on here. You have an illness. I just opened this up the first page. I don't even know what it is. What is it going to be here? Okay, let's see if I can.
Menopause. Good one for you.
That's fine. That's all fine. That's fine. But now, I mean, that's not something that I'm particularly concerned with. But let's just take that. She's got natural remedies for that. Who wants to be loaded with this garbage? So, this is one thing right after another. So, she studied it. She has the distinctions, and it's made a difference. If you're not making a difference in somebody's life, well, then what are we doing? Because people are not really interested in a nutritionist, I don't think. They want to hear all that stuff. But they are interested in somebody who might can absolutely have them get a greater sense of energy. Actually, it's really about self-love. If I'm eating all those foods, it's self-destructive. So, when we think of having food, it's making me lose energy. It's making me sick. It's giving me high blood pressure. So I think having food, as she's awakened me to this, is really a lot about love. I know that may be a hard thing to see. And you take her book, you find out what your problem is. She gives you a whole paragraph of what you ought to be taking naturally. I've not seen a book like that. So that's how she's empowered me.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I like the common theme basically is respect and love, and curing everybody with respect and love, and being authentic to that, and having integrity to empower one another. I think that's the key to life, and that's one reason why we're here, because we're actually helping one another. And like you said, the question is, what can you do for somebody else? So this is brilliant. Basically, both of you had separate distinctions. You guys came together. You've inspired one another. And this is one reason why we're having this particular discussion here tonight, is to have an understanding that you just reach out and ask questions and get involved and understand what actually can happen with a communication between two people basically that have different distinctions, but they came together and created something completely different. And just absolutely empowered both of you guys with a well-being. You got validation, so did he. You both have love and respect for one another on different aspects. Neither one of you knew anything about one another, what they actually did, but you had a commonality, which is food. And obviously any and all diseases are 99.9% of everything that you put into your face. Everything you have to basically, everything you have to digest, whether it's emotions, whether it's thought, whether it's food, it all has to be digested by the body. And if we don't have a good well-being around that and a good understanding to that, it's going to develop toxins, obesity, and many more bad things that can actually happen to the body. So both Stephen and Jackie have come together basically on two different modalities and have actually empowered the Brilliant Institute. And this interview basically is going to be put out around the world so everybody can actually see these videos. And I just wanted to thank you guys for coming together and expressing that. And I'd like to basically turn it over now to individually and allow Jackie to ask a question to Stephen about his book and his reality and what he's actually going to be creating in the future. And I would also like to turn it over to Steve to ask Jackie how and why the transformational changes you've made in your life and actually be more personal as far as some of the insights that each one of you guys have shown to one another. So anyway, Stephen, you can go ahead and express even more basically as far as the 5 areas of your life, as far as the purposes and what actually is a purpose, so we all have choice, and then you can ask Jackie basically how it affected her by giving you your definition of purpose and choice. And then basically ask each other questions as far as what each one of these things means. Take as much time as you want, be as candid as you want, lose track of your mind if you want. Just be authentic.
Oh, you're setting me up.
Well, you know what?
Okay.
As Stephen actually said, we all take on an identity and an ego type of thing, whatever, but
Forward.
well, it is moving forward. It's actually getting present. And present is very scary to a lot of people because
Oh, yeah.
they want to basically live from their past and they want to
Easy to
create a
hide.
future.
It's easy to hide back there.
Correct. And
You
so
know?
we're being very present. We're being very authentic, and we're basically having the highest integrity that we can. So there's no bullshit here. This is just being as present as you possibly can in your life. So again, Stephen, if you will kind of express what we talked about purposes and having freedom of choice, and then basically ask Jackie how it was empowering her, and then she'll tell you what she actually got out of that, and then basically Jackie will ask you, how it's transformed your life and helped you continue on your work as far as here at Brilliant Institute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, we talk about purpose. It is, most people don't know what a purpose is. Seems like we would, but I don't know what my purpose is. Probably the most important thing you can do in your life. How do we create a purpose? Choice. I think it's the most powerful word in the dictionary. How do we get to the level of choice? These are things, because a lot of us were raised with a lot of emotional hurt. We've got a lot of things that we're doing that are self-destructive. We have a lot of addictions. We've got a lot of depression. We've got a lot of worry. We've got a lot of frustration. We've got a lot of insecurities, and the list goes on and on and on. And it almost happens to all of us, to be quite frank. So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with the frustration? I mean, how do we deal with the worry? How do we deal with, I don't like my future? How do we deal with those past hurts that we have? How do we deal with these emotions? I got a lot of fear in me. I got a lot of sadness in me, and I'm pretty doggone angry. And I just feel pretty sad most of the time. So there's a lot to this question that you're asking me about purpose. What is a purpose and what is choice, and how do we figure all this out? In writing the book, I thought that people ought to live a balanced life. Well, what does that mean? Well, we got a body, we got spirit, we got education, we got money and relationship. Now those seem to be 5 areas: body, spirit, money, education, and relationship. We're all sort of kind of interested in that. Well, how do we get there? I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh. So I recommend people have a purpose for each area. Well, what is a purpose then? Why is this going to help us? What is this, just some psychological course? Well, I don't do psychology. And I don't do philosophy. And I don't do religion, even though I have a profound respect for it. This is about person looking into their gut and into their heart, into their soul, to discover their purpose. Most people aren't used to doing that. They're used to getting some input out there. This is not about some input out there. It's not about me giving somebody advice. It's really about you looking in you where you never looked before. And I'll tell you, that's why the name of my book is called Wake Up to Brilliant Society. You got it in you. It's hidden in there. So a lot of the work that I do is to access the brilliance that you already have. And we do that by a purpose. And now, so what is a purpose? Well, a purpose is different than a goal. Goals are something that we achieve and they're over with. I bought a house. It's done with. But a purpose goes on and on and on every moment. So, for example, let's just say I have a purpose to express love. Well, you can't accomplish it. I'm expressing love now. I'm expressing love now. I'm expressing love now. So a purpose goes on forever. And it is most profound. And it's not that I'm most profound, or my book's most profound, or her book's most profound. It's that we're all that. But we've been trained to block it off. And so the work I do with people is to discover their higher self, which they have in them. So that's one of the ways we do it, with a purpose. Now, my particular purpose, and this is not for everyone, because everybody's purpose is different. But my purpose is, I am that we are the one brilliant self. Okay. Life is transformed. Okay, what does that mean? Creating miracles. Transforming humanity. Now when you hear that, it's like, what is this miracle? You know, and what is transformation? And what is the one brilliant self? Now they all sound like fancy words, but the client will use their own words. Perhaps it's about a rose. Perhaps it's about the ocean. Those are just my words, but everyone comes up with their own purpose. And they come up from their gut, and you'd be surprised how that is. So that hopefully answers your question. Now I go back, as you asked me, to ask Jackie a question. And that really is how do we, and I think this is an important question because I don't think anybody gets this, including myself, and I don't know anybody else. How can, it can be maybe a difficult question, how can we connect love to nutrition? Now that's, you know, I mean, I don't know if that's, oh boy, but if you can answer that one, that's great.
Okay. When I decided I needed to transform my health, I decided I needed to change my relationship with food. For most of my life, food was comfort. You know, upset me and give me a piece of cheesecake or give me the whole damn cheesecake and I'll eat it. It became comfort, it became emotional brace, it became all these things, and this was killing my body. So I had to change my relationship over, and what I came up with, based on my biology background, was that if you look at food for what it really is, which it's full of life source energy coming from the sun, because we all learned in school that the sun is ultimately the source of all life on the planet. And so plants are very excited every day to absorb this energy and to actually use that energy and put it into their bodies and their tissues as a form of love. Now, when we eat food, we need all this energy that it has absorbed from the sun, that it stores. And this is what the center of health is this actual sunlight getting into our bodies as we eat the food from the plants who absorbed it. And it is a form of self-love, because if you love yourself by what you put into your body is going to love you back. And it's going to exuberate all this energy and all this well-being and all this, everything else comes out of your body when you give your body what it needs for you to thrive. And what that is life source energy from the sun.
You know, I don't think many people are going to be able to answer that question. You've done a brilliant job with it. How are we going to be able to answer this question about nutrition and love? This is so really great. But you see, in my particular case, I hear that, but I was not choosing those. I thought I was. So in a sense, I was choosing something that was actually very unhealthy for me, even though they were healthy foods. I know that doesn't make sense, but you cleared that up for me. So even though you say that, you know, and as the listeners listening, you know, I really like what this woman just said. But how am I going to get there? How am I going to actually choose love from this nutrition when everything I am a very loving person. I love love, but I keep being self-destructive. You know, I'm 30, 40 pounds overweight. You know, I do the comfort thing because I've got all of these things in here. And I know it's not unhealthy for me. I know it's unhealthy for me. I keep eating these junk foods. But I happen to be, so it didn't make sense. I happen to be a very loving person. And yet instead of picking up something nutritious, I'm having the cheesecake. And I've associated the cheesecake with love. And in fact, it's a form of self-hatred. So you explained it so well. I don't think anybody can explain that. If they can, I'd like to hear somebody be able to answer that question, which I think you've done a brilliant job. But I keep choosing self-destructive things.
But let me add to the mix here. See, what happens when for so long we have been told that we're supposed to eat huge quantities of these dead foods at like every meal, as far as your rolls, your muffins, whatever
I
else.
hate to interrupt you, but I don't know what a dead food is. This makes no sense to me. What is a dead food?
If it can't spring to life when you put it in the ground, you can take an almond and you can put it in the ground and you can sprout it into a tree. It's still alive. When you buy lettuce, it's crisp and living. And if you let it sit, it will wilt and die. It becomes dead food. A bag of flour, a box of pasta, even a loaf of bread, they can sit out for years and never go bad. I mean, what was it? They said some guy found a McDonald's hamburger in his pocket after like 5 years, and it was still edible. Well, technically.
Same thing with the Twinkie.
Yeah, same with Twinkies. They got like a 5-year shelf life because they're dead, because they've already died. Where if you're eating foods that are still alive, then you still have all this source energy coming in them. But what I was going to be getting to, well, let me tell you the rule. Okay, here's the rule for everybody. The longer the shelf life of a given food, the shorter your shelf life will become.
Mm-hmm.
Because that dead food, because it's dead and your body requires life source energy, if you're not getting life source energy, your own life source energy starts to diminish. And it actually starts to suck the life out of you. Slowly but surely killing you, bringing on health diseases that would be prevented if you had a life source energy in your body.
Let me get something out of my refrigerator right here and see what you think about this. Here it is right here. Now I've got this right here in my refrigerator. I want to know if this is dead food or what this is. Now, let me see what I have here. Now, what is it about this right here?
Now, this is living. You could actually cut the bottom of this off, stick it in the ground, and it will start growing new celery. It's alive. Every single cell inside this is still doing all its life purposes and still storing all of the sun's energy that it came with before it was harvested. This, as if you let this sit for any length of time, it will wilt and it will die, and then you won't want to eat it. So why do we eat stuff that has like flour and rice? Rice doesn't grow when you put it in the ground. It's not alive. It's dead. They've stripped it of all of its nutrient value so that it actually has nothing left to it except for its chemical energy of sugar. All its life force is gone. This is still alive. You can actually plant this and have it grow. That's how you know.
It's interesting what you're saying, but now, this is different than cheesecake. I don't know if you...
that's not alive either.
You nutritionists may not understand that. But now, you say that when I look at being satisfied with my cheesecake, and I look at this, it looks like cheesecake is love to me. Because I've got a lot of emotional problems. I've got a lot of stress. And when I have that, I feel good. Now, you're trying to tell me this has something to do with love. I'm wired for this to be love. And so this is sweet. It tastes good. And I'm going to have this stuff here. And this is going to lead to love. I think you've explained it. But that, in other words, if I'm listening to you, I'm going to have to shift my conversation and my emotions from over here to here. And I'll choose this. Because I'm telling you, I'm choosing cheesecake because it tastes great. But the only reason it tastes great is because I've made it up that it tastes great. Well, you say, but so how am I going to get to really choosing this and have love? And so that's really the thing that I think Brad had mentioned is how do I choose love? And I keep not choosing love, but this is really love. And so it's a matter of how am I going to choose this right here?
Well, let me back up for a minute here, because a lot of times, like you said, we're not choosing. And what people don't understand is that when we eat high grains and sugars, it feeds different little critters in our gut that actually send chemical signals to your brain that says, feed me more of this bad stuff. So that you have cravings. You don't know why, but you have cravings? Well, I know why. It's because the little critters in your gut are sending signals saying, feed me, I want cheesecake. And really, actually, you are a victim of them being in the bad spot. These are bad microbiome.
But they're still choosing for me. And now,
yes, so if we fix them, then the cravings go away, and then you are free to choose. And then all of your life comes back when you are free to choose, when these little critters in your gut aren't choosing for you and sabotaging your own health, making you feel guilty for making bad choices when they're actually making the bad choices for you. I don't want to blame them, but yet they are sending signals to your brain telling you to ignore what you think is right and feed them because they're hungry. So there is some input there coming from the outside of your self-consciousness and your brain and your willpower that doesn't belong to you, that is influencing your decisions.
Well, I've got a lot of willpower, and I'm still choosing the cheesecake. So one of the things is how are we going to get to choice? Now that, as I said before, is one of the most powerful words in the dictionary. So now, since it's an epidemic, because most of our society is choosing cheesecake, and I look at this here, I don't know, maybe we have to put some peanut butter on it or something.
There you go.
That probably won't work either. But the point is how do we actually get to the level of choice? And that is something that I think is very important. So what I'm talking about is, and this may sound a little bit odd, but we don't really realize it, but we speak foods into condition. You see, the value I place on here comes from up here. It comes from the emotional experience. So if I can shift my conversation, which is a lot of the work I do with people, so that what happens is, instead of me associating love with this, which is giving me heart failure and so forth, how do I shift my conversations and emotions and actually love this? And this is a little bit of the work that you've done with me, because I'm not interested in cheesecake. Let me tell you how I got rid of cheesecakes. Now this may be a little bit gross. Now I go into, and I'm going to just tell you how I did it now, because I think people will see this. I go into Winchell's probably 3 or 4 times a week for the last year. I've never had one donut yet, because I've changed my conversation with it. And when I look at a donut, now this is a little rough, I see it as vomit. I wouldn't eat a donut. I have language and emotion. I look, I go, oh my God, you are just terrible. So I don't think people understand. You are languaging the cheesecake. It just sits there. You're emotionalizing it. And now I can eat this. So I ordered a McDonald's sandwich here, whatever it was, and I ordered protein style. They actually gave me a piece of bread. And I looked at that bread. I said, I hate you. You're going to give me candida. You're going to give me this. And I threw it out the window. So I don't think we understand is that this is a conversation. It looks like it's out here, but I'm emotionalizing it. And if I could associate this with love, I'm going to eat a lot of it. So I don't think we understand. We language and emotionalize food into existence. And that means is that the cheesecake is love, not this. And when I can shift that relationship, then I have the power to choose. So but also now I've got this other little thing right here now, And when I was working with you, here's this carrot here now, and so forth. Now, you said something to me, which I don't agree with, by the way, and that is that, carrots, you got different color carrots, okay? I don't care what, you've got white carrots, you've got purple carrots. Oh, Stephen, you should have different varieties. First off, I have no intentions of doing that. That's for you experts to have that. But now here you want me to have I guess there's a purple carrot, I guess there's a white carrot, and there's some other kind of carrot. I am not interested in that. However, what difference does it make what color carrot I've got?
Well, each one of the colors actually designates, think of it like color as vitamins. If it's a different color, then it has a different chemical makeup that actually is different vitamins. So you're going to get different nutrition from each different color. So whether it be purple potatoes or whether it be purple carrots, the purple itself is actually the nutrition. So that if you actually you know that there's a whole bunch of B vitamins and A vitamins, C vitamins, and all these other vitamins. If you think of each vitamin as a color, and that way when you eat all these different colors, you know that you're getting all the different vitamins.
Well, I see that. That's interesting. I think I'm just going to stick with this color. But I hear what you're saying, but that could apply to other things, so that's quite interesting there. Well, I must say that it's
You're
quite...
limiting your possibilities. How dare you?
Well, I appreciate that, and I am actually guilty of that. I am guilty of that, and I'm not going to go and get white and blue or purple or carrots or whatever it is. So, I what I'm seeing in our collaboration here, and that is that there is an emotion and a conversation, and that's totally separate. And then there is this physical world with these distinctions, and we need to bring them both together. In other words, we language this into existence. But you see, if you don't know what this is, you can't choose it. So this is what's really great about you, is that you know what's going on inside here. See, this is just a carrot to me, and so forth. But I'm over here now able to language food into existence and emotionalize it. But if you don't know what it is, and you're still eating brown rice, then you can't choose. So this is where we've come to collaborate. Very, very, very important. And that is, what's in the brown rice? I couldn't choose it because I don't even know what it was. So with your distinctions in terms of nutrition, and my work in the nature of being, and that is how do we language that into existence, I believe that we can cure health. And nobody's going to explain that question you just answered, if they can, how food is love. I mean, that's not going to be an easy one. And most people are not going to language on our language, and that is that you're actually languaging food and emotion into existence. So I think it's important in this podcast to take care of our bodies, and I think that we've come up to the actual answer that will make a huge difference in people's lives. And I don't know how many people are having this kind of conversation. And I can guarantee you that I think we can make a huge results in people's lives.
Well, let me real quick share here what you helped me develop my food purpose, so to speak, as far as how I was going to re-language food and its relationship to me, where I actually put down in writing that food is medicine. So love yourself from the outside in so that your body will love you back from the inside out. And so when I look at food, I go, oh man, my body is going to just love this. It's going to be so excited when it gets this, because it's going to give it all this good stuff that it needs to be healthy and to help me be healthy. So that's how I get excited about food now, is by looking at the nutritional value of how my body is going to love me back because of what I'm giving it.
You know, I'm really getting that right now, and I'm really appreciating this carrot right now. Well, because I'm really getting the sense of this is love. I can't share it with you too. This is just like, you know, and Vince, the cameraman, you know, but you know, it's amazing that I could turn this into a cheesecake, because
You probably could.
everybody is making everything up. All our language is made up.
Yeah.
Well, 100 years ago, the carrot was actually the sweetest thing that basically was around on the farm.
Yeah, beets and carrots, yeah.
Beets and carrots.
Yeah.
So this is actually the candy bar of 100 years ago. This was actually a treat. And back 250 years ago, this was a prized commodity basically as far as carrots. Make carrot cake and carrot soufflés and all kinds of different things basically as far as a sweet surprise. You could saute them for half an hour to an hour and turn them into a candy. And it was really a special treat. So again, we've lost a lot of these heirloom recipes. Excuse me. And
Well, not only that, but we've moved away from where we used to be. We used to cook. and we used to shop. And people actually went to the farmer's market several times a week, if not daily, to pick up real live source energy food. And now we shop once a month, and we put it in the freezer, we put it in packages, and we buy this stuff that can last forever because it's convenient, because we don't have to cook. I mean, so many people I talk to, it's like, what's a crock pot? Or, well, I know how to turn on the stove, but, how do I cook it? I can boil eggs, I can boil water. That's about all I know how to make. It's just like, all this fresh stuff is right there for us, but they're so used to throwing something in the microwave or just pulling it out of the fridge already made from the store. And this is not going to get us where we want to go.
I have to really disagree with you there, because I am not interested in cooking anything. And
That's true. That's true.
And I'm not interested in shopping. If I go to the store, I'd like to be there, and I think this is a disease that we men have. And that is, so how do we have that all happen where I want it in the store, I want it handled now, and and I think this is maybe perhaps, we may not cover it in this video tonight, but I don't want to prepare food, I don't want to do any shopping, but I want foods that nurture my body. So I think, and I don't know if we'll cover that here this evening, but it's I don't want to do any preparation, I don't want to do any cooking, I don't want to go to the store, but I want this. So how would you answer that question? Very little shopping and very little cooking, and yet I get exactly what I need. Now that's another question that may be difficult to answer, but how can we do that?
Well, there are. Yes, I do have a rather interesting group of bachelor men or non-cooking families, and it can be worked out.
I've been married for 20 years, but go
Yes.
ahead, yeah.
But that's why I said non-cooking families.
Yeah.
But there is a way around it, as far as you can buy organic chicken sausage already made, that's already cooked, so that all you can just pull it out and eat it straight out of the package, just cold, if you wanted to. Or you could slightly heat it up, or you could, cut it up and pour some pasta sauce on it and eat it that way or whatever. But
well, have you got a website that can show that to me? Because I hear you saying that, but have you got a website that? Because I'm telling you, I'm not going to do this cooking and chopping. So have you got a website that would help me? What is your website anyway?
Well, my website is Real Health. And then the chemical abbreviation, or the chemistry abbreviation for solutions, which is solns.com. So it's realhealthsolns.com is my website.
SOLNS?
SOL, Soul, NS.
NS, okay.
So for
So now,
solutions.
am I going to be able to go to that site, given that I'm not going to do the shopping and cooking, or can you put that in there so that this can help me out?
I do not have on my website a shopping list for people who don't want to cook, who still want good, whole, organic food. No, I don't have that.
Well, maybe you have some reference. I got you on that one.
I have a full Pinterest site under Real Health Solutions.
Pinterest,
that
I
has
don't know what that word means.
Pinterest. It's a social grouping where you pin recipes and pin ideas and haircuts and whatever else, and you make a board. It's like a mind map board.
I don't
almost.
like recipes.
Anyway, so but I do have thousands of, or over 1,000 recipes on there for how to make stuff.
Maybe you could find a site to refer to, because I don't think I'm the only one in this category. I don't like recipes and I don't like shopping, and so maybe this would be quite good for us folk. But we are interested in food very much so. So, well, I just would say that I appreciate the years of your commitment to thinking outside the box. I think what people will see here today, that this isn't just some nutritionist there, and that you have, even talked, and you've been vulnerable today to share that you had these conditions. Well, how do I get rid of a condition? I mean, most people got a condition and then they medicate somebody, to mask it, and then, I go on for years and years and years, but you're actually saying that this masking by medication, and shared a little bit about your own father, they try to put him under some kind of medication, and you're actually saying that the way that you cured yourself was not through this prescriptive drugs, was not through this, but actually through nutrition. And you had quite a list there. I don't know, all those things you just said was quite a bit. So it ought to tell some people out there that you can have a condition. Most of us don't get cured from it. And so it's really great to know that you actually have done it. And you just said here, not more than 10 minutes ago, that you're in better shape than you've ever been. Now, that doesn't make any sense when you're in your 30s, I guess, or 40s, whatever you are, that you can actually do that. I mean, that's audacious to say something like that. Who's talking like that? Where, oh, my body's in better shape than it was. But, that's the real proof, and you're about as genuine, as sincere as I get. So this is there's no hype with you. So I think it's extraordinary that you would have that commitment. I think it's extraordinary that you would be here in this video. I think it's extraordinary that you would share yourself. And I believe that people can see this and probably never seen a podcast like this before. And I think they can take a look and say, something, maybe I can do something with my health. And I heard these two people coming from, two different places. And I actually think I could have some power over my body. And I think that's what I hope the listeners get, so that they understand is the condition you have doesn't have to be that way, and you can actually get over it and cure it.
And it's all your fault.
It can be. It can be.
The fact that we're here and that we're learning from each other is all your fault.
Yes, and I'll take that fault.
Yes. And I want to introduce this man here a little more, because I would describe him as the all-knowing being of space, time, and dimension. And I think that the people out there need to know that this is who this is.
I think we need to edit that out right away.
Well, there's a lot
Why
of
are you limiting yourself?
I'm not.
Okay. How do you know you're not? Don't answer that. Give us some thought. Anyway.
Well, I like what you're saying about him, and it's space-time and so forth. It seems a little bit unusual, but Brad Nelson here, and his real commitment to the well-being of people. And when you have that kind of commitment, it's a different view in the world. And I think every moment of his life is to see how I can raise people up. This makes very intelligent when you're looking through that. We're talking about how we language his carrot into existence. Well, he's languaging his life into existence, called everything around me is going to get nurtured. Everything around me, I'm going to bring people up. This takes a great deal of it. It comes quite naturally for him, but it takes a great deal, and so that's his commitment to how can I raise people up. And this is 24/7, and of course it does happen. Because he is seeing the world through that. A lot of people, they see people, well, I don't really like them. Nothing happens. So that is the thing that I've seen about Brad Nelson, and that is that wherever I'm at, people are going to be uplifted. Not only that, but that's what I call a fancy word called contextual integrity. It's a fancy word, but integrity, and he speaks about it. He calls it moral integrity. Or a moral obligation. And what does that mean? I mean, these are very high standards, and that simply means is I have a responsibility that people will be nurtured. And I think that's pretty extraordinary.
All for one and one for all.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Stephen. I appreciate it. And Jackie, thank you very much for also being candid and putting something together for nutrition and also for well-being. We all represent the well-being of the planet, and everybody basically involved in trying to make a better life for ourselves and everybody else as well. And that's one reason for coming together, because we actually want to make sure that we know we all have choices, and we're moving from the finite to the infinite, and there's always more possible choices out there. You just need to ask questions and actually do the research behind it, and you'll find some wonderful people that can help you in your quest. So if anytime you basically feel that you're in a rut or getting stuck, Stephen Costales, he'd probably Brilliant Institute here in La Habra, California is available for consulting, and also Jackie, she's also available at Real Health Solutions as far as nutrition and changing your health. So if you're feeling stuck and overweight and high blood pressure and can't get a handle on your food, you're welcome to give Jackie a call and she'll help you out.
Stop being sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Exactly. And thank you, Stephen, for sharing your insights for what you've been doing for the last 60 years and having this wonderful facility here at Brilliant Institute. And thank you everybody else for coming around and actually watching us put something out there for the betterment of mankind.
Thank you very much.
Amen. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Appreciate it.
Ooh, we do the bump.
Okay, cool.